up your YouTube, search for Stukeley Meadows, watch on your big screen. Get yourself comfy, this could take a while, what a happy scene. Something new every day for your long-term memory. This is so exciting, it is nearly time for a Stukeley assembly. Good morning everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday reading assembly. For each other we, every day we, to improve we, together we will. Every single Stukeley day we focus on. Our Stukeley motto is, our Stukeley curriculum is, and 4 words that make the magic happen. Yes, right everyone, we're back into reading. I know what you're thinking. What are we going to do after Mr. Gum? Well, I really enjoyed You're a Bad Man, Mr. Gum, which is why I've kept the story map behind me. I was a little bit disappointed with the ending, but I know there are loads more Mr. Gum books, so I'm guessing that his character comes back time and time again to make people smile, or not. Anyway, I'm going to do something today that I never thought I'd do. I'm going to start a book that we've already read. I hope that nobody's gone, oh, we've already done it. Sometimes it's great to read things again. It's good to revisit things or retrieve things that we've done before. So before I introduce you to the book for the next few weeks, I'm going to give you an author challenge. Yes, I am. Okay, I want you to think of as many Charles Dickens books as you can, as many of his novels as you can. Teachers, pause the video. This may not take very long. Pause, list the novels. I'll see you in a minute. Go. Okay, here are some that you might have got. Great Expectations, Oliver Twist, David Copperfield, The Old Curiosity Shop. Now remember, hopefully you remember these from last year, these are all abridged versions. That means they're short versions of longer stories. Anyway, the story that we're going to revisit, the story that we're going to read again for the next few weeks is, you've probably guessed it, A Christmas Carol. Last year I read this in our reading assemblies in school with everyone sat in the hall, you know, in like a story circle or half a circle-ish, semicircle. We're going to crack on with this. We're going to get it finished by Christmas. Here we go. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Just to get you warmed up, I'm just going to give you a quick look at the characters that we're going to come across. Teachers, you can pause this when I hold it up, but I'd rather you didn't because I just want to give a flavour. Okay, here we go. Bah! Humbug! Complained Scrooge. Fools wishing me a Merry Christmas should be forced to sit on cushions stuffed with holly leaves or boiled with their own Christmas puddings. Go away and take your Merry Christmas with you, he groaned. But Uncle, I'm wishing you a Merry Christmas, even though you don't enjoy it. Remember? Remember? Shouted Scrooge. Scrooge's beaming, rosy-cheeked nephew turned back to him as he left the office. You're welcome to join us for Christmas dinner, Uncle. As his nephew left, his warmth went with him. Now Scrooge's office was cold. Cold is cheap, and Scrooge liked it that way. In the dim light of his inadequate fire, Scrooge muttered under his breath, "Humbug!" And again he went back to counting his money. At another desk in Scrooge's office, there sat his office clerk, Bob Cratchit. So, just to help those of you that don't know this story, Scrooge is a really miserable man. He hates Christmas, he hates people. He's a little bit like Mr. Gum, if I'm completely honest. That wasn't deliberate, that link. Anyway, Scrooge is there, he hates Christmas. His nephew has wished him a happy Christmas, says that he can come for a meal with them. Scrooge doesn't want any of it. Bob Cratchit is his office clerk. At another desk in the same room, Scrooge's office clerk, Bob Cratchit, sat scribbling furiously. He had wished Scrooge's nephew a Merry Christmas, and he felt a bit afraid of what Mr. Scrooge would do next. "And you, Bob Cratchit, what right has somebody as poor as you got to be merry about Christmas?" I'm sorry, Mr. Scrooge, said Bob Cratchit. "I suppose you'd like to stay at home tomorrow to spend Christmas with your children." I would love it, sir, said Bob Cratchit. Why should I pay for you to have a day at home? Christmas is just an excuse for picking my pocket. I shall expect you in early the very next day to make up for it. Yes, certainly, Mr. Scrooge. Poor Bob pulled his scarf more tightly around his neck in a vain attempt to keep warm, and he blew on his hands to try and warm them. He carried on with his work, desperate not to upset Mr. Scrooge, who might have changed his mind about the one day off. The last coal on the fire started to die out, and with it the slight warmth that was there disappeared from the room. Except for Mr. Scrooge's clinking money and Bob's scratching pen, the room was completely silent. Clang! The bell above the door clanged its cheerless clang, and it announced the arrival of another unwelcome visitor. "Merry Christmas, sir," said a portly, smiling gentleman. "Is it?" muttered Scrooge. "It certainly should be, sir. Christmas is a time for goodness, for generous giving. I'm collecting money for homeless children so they can have shelter and be fed at this Christmas time." "What?" exclaimed Scrooge. "Are there no prisons, no workhouses to do this job?" "Unfortunately, sir, there are plenty of both of them." Then the beggars have no need for my money or charity," grumbled Scrooge. His cold hands ushered the stunned gentleman out of his office and out of the room. The bell clanged farewell. Bob Cratchit coughed and rubbed his hands together even more. Mr. Scrooge was his boss, was his employer, but he was a scraping, selfish, cold, old sinner, hard and sharp, and a very lonely old man indeed. As Bob reached for a new coal to put on the fire, Scrooge snapped at him. "Go on then, go and join the other fools out there. Be off with you." "Oh, thank you, sir, thank you," said Bob Cratchit, and he scuttled to the door, hurriedly put his coat on, before Scrooge could change his mind. "Oh, and a Merry Christmas." "Go away!" shouted Scrooge. "Humbug!" And he muttered as the clanging bell echoed his loneliness. The fire was now dead, the candle was extinguished, and the cash box firmly locked. Scrooge pulled the door closed behind him as he stepped out onto the street. Scrooge looked up at the sign above the shop door. It said Scrooge and Marley, even though Jacob Marley had died 7 years ago. Scrooge hadn't bothered to get the paint to put over the Marley part of the sign. It would have cost money for somebody to do it after all. Sometimes people that were new to the business called Scrooge Scrooge, and sometimes they called him Marley, but he answered to both names because he just couldn't be bothered to correct people. It was all the same to him. What was in no doubt whatsoever, though, was that Marley was dead. Completely dead. Dead as a doornail. Scrooge was the only person at his funeral and saw his coffin lowered into the ground. The cold and dampness felt uncomfortable to Scrooge, unlike the cheerful faces of the hurrying people around him. People who wanted to be with their families for Christmas, people who wanted to eat their Christmas dinners. Although most of them avoided Scrooge because they knew what he was like, he felt attacked by their happiness, offended by their smiles, and he hid in a shop doorway to avoid young boys coming down the street singing carols. Bah! Humbug! He said. Eventually, Scrooge reached his front door, having taken a longer route home to avoid yet more carol singers. Scrooge slid the key in the lock. As he did that, something made him jump back. He gasped and stared. The old brass knocker on his door appeared to have developed a face. Scrooge blinked to see if it would disappear, but it didn't. The face's deadly cold eyes stared at him, sending a chill through his flesh, and he felt colder than he already was. What Scrooge saw was impossible. It was the face of Jacob Marley in his door. Hesitantly, Scrooge entered his cold, dark house. The door slammed behind him. Nonsense, he tried to convince himself. I'm seeing things at Christmas time. Nonsense! It was dark inside the house, but Scrooge decided not to light a candle. Darkness was cheap, and Scrooge liked it that way. He glanced back at his front door, and then he felt his way up the stairs. Once in his room, he looked carefully around before undressing. He climbed into bed and pulled the covers tightly over his head. Right, we're going to finish there. Mr. Scrooge doesn't like Christmas. He's miserable. He's very much like Mr. Gum. He doesn't like people being happy. He loves money. He keeps all his money to himself and won't give anything away. But all of a sudden this Christmas time, he's seen the face of somebody he used to work with. He's seen that person's face in his door, and it's made him feel a bit anxious. It scared him a little bit, so he's got home, he's gotten into bed, and he's covered up his head so he doesn't get scared anymore. I wonder what will happen next week. Some of you know, some of you don't. Anyway, we're going to stop there. We're going to go straight into Cheer, Boo, Song or Silence. It's a good one. Here we go. Will they get to cheer or will they get to boo? With either one there must not be violence. They may well get a song, but it will not last that long. We really hope they do not get silence. Here we go, everyone, back in the Cheer, Boo, Song or Silence studio. Everybody is excited. Me and Mrs. Franklin, who is behind the curtain. But what will she get? A cheer, a boo, a song or silence? What do you think will happen? Oh, okay. Right, out you come, Mrs. Franklin! She's even walked off a completely different way to everyone else. Okay, unfortunately, her daughter's going to be watching this. I wonder what her reaction will be. Well, at least there was solidarity, togetherness in the family there as they both went silent. You know how this works? Someone picks the card, someone gets the reaction. I wonder what it will be next week on Cheer, Boo, Song or Silence. Will they get to cheer or will they get to boo? With either one there must not be violence. They may well get to song, but it will not last that long. We really hope they do not get silence. Tough times for Mrs. Franklin there, but these things happen. There's very little I can do about it. We'll see what happens next week. It's interesting, isn't it, that we've had a difficult start to A Christmas Carol, and it's followed by a difficult Cheer, Boo, Song or Silence. Right, really quick shout outs. Here we go, everyone. Let's see who's got a birthday today. We have 3. Happy birthday to Isla in year 2. Happy birthday to Georgina in year 6. And happy birthday to Lily in year 2. All 3 of you have got a birthday today. Another one snuck in. It's also Christian in year 5's, but I bet you thought I'd forgotten. Sorry, Christian. Christian in year 5's birthday too. I need to do a check now. 4 birthdays today. Brilliant. Happy birthday, everyone. Hope you're having a great day and the rest is brilliant too. Straight into Miss time. The most important 60 seconds are coming up now. The most important 60 seconds are coming up now. I know I look a bit mysterious. It's because I'm holding something incredible. Right, I've told you about Christmas messages this year. No Christmas cards. You all get the chance to make a Christmas picture or design a Christmas card of some sort. You then write a message to friends, your class or the whole school, whoever you like. This starts next week. It starts on Monday, but somebody snuck in an early one. There's an early one. It's got a lovely message on the back. Look what the office team have made. This is brilliant. The office team have made a Christmas messages box. Isn't that superb? Thank you, Mrs. Arnold. That is going to go in the staff room. Teachers and staff at Stukeley, if any children give you a Christmas message, they go into the staff room, into the Christmas message box. I can't wait to get this going next week.